quick book recap. Okay, let's unpack this. That feeling we all kind of get around financial planning, it can just feel huge, totally overwhelming.
Right.
Like you've read somewhere you need, I don't know, 7.8 million saved by 65
Yeah.
or you're eating dog food like Dan Heath mentioned.
Yeah, that exact feeling.
And it just paralyzes you. It's like standing in a fancy grocery store staring at like 100 kinds of mustard. You just want someone to point and say, get that one.
Mm-hmm. And the financial world often leans into that, doesn't it? All this complexity.
Totally. They make it seem like if your plan isn't super intricate, you're basically doomed. So it's no surprise that, really smart, successful people just feel stuck.
Yeah.
Either they're terrified of making the wrong move or they're hung up on some past mistake. I mean, even Carl Richards, the author we're talking about, the one-page financial plan, he's a financial advisor.
Right.
And he openly says he lost his own house once. It really shows you anyone can get caught in these traps.
It really does.
Yeah.
And him being so open about that, it kind of gets right to the core of his whole idea in the book.
Which is?
Well, it's that the best financial plan, it actually has nothing to do with predicting the market or finding, the next hot stock.
Okay.
It has everything to do with figuring out what's genuinely most important to you in your life.
Ah. Okay.
And he stresses that making, let's say, irrational money decisions, that's just being human. It's not some personal failure. The book isn't pushing for perfection. It's more about, okay, let's make our best guess, see what happens, and then, make adjustments along the way. Because life happens, right?
Right.
And honestly, just by thinking about this stuff, just engaging with these ideas, you're already doing way better than most people. He points out this kind of stark stat.
Yeah.
The median retirement account balance for working households is only like $3,000.
Wow. Seriously.
Yeah. So this isn't about some secret silver bullet investment strategy. Research shows those almost always disappoint anyway. It's way more fundamental.
Okay, that takes a lot of pressure off, honestly, because so much advice feels like you need a PhD just to understand it.
Exactly.
So his approach starts with the why. He actually did this exercise with his wife. They boiled down their whole financial plan to, 3 or 4 main things on one single page, written with a Sharpie on cardstock, just to force themselves to keep it big and simple.
I love that. The Sharpie makes it feel permanent, but also simple.
Yeah. He compares it to the picture on a kid's toy box. You might get this thick instruction manual inside.
Right.
But it's the picture on the box that shows you what you're building if you're generally on the right track. The details, the rest of the book, that's still important for the nuts and bolts.
Sure.
But that one-page plan is your main snapshot, your guidepost. And it's meant to change. Life throws curveballs, you lose a job, suddenly have twins, there's a health scare.
Always.
It really makes you stop and think, are we just chasing some generic American dream that doesn't even line up with what we actually value?
That is such a crucial question.
Yeah.
And it leads right into what Richard says is the very first step. Getting really, really clear about what you want. From your money, yes, but also from your life.
Okay.
He calls this whole process discovery. And it sounds simple, right? There's no fancy math.
Yeah, sounds easy enough.
But it's definitely not easy. Because it makes you face some fears, maybe some uncomfortable truths. You have to look honestly at whether how you're acting actually matches up with your goals. It tells this great story about a couple, Sarah and Mark. Super successful, high achievers. They came to him wanting, sophisticated investment advice.
Right, the usual stuff.
Exactly. But the first thing Richards asked them was just, why is money important to you?
What was their reaction to that? I bet it's not what they expected from a financial advisor.
Oh, totally threw them off.
Yeah.
He described Sarah kind of shifting in her seat, looking uncomfortable, probably thinking, why are we talking about feelings? Just tell us where to put the money.
Yeah.
So she gave the easy answers first, freedom, flexibility.
The buzzwords.
Right. But he gently kept asking, okay, what does freedom mean to you? What does flexibility look like? And he kept digging until she finally got emotional and admitted what she really wanted deep down.
Which was?
She said, I just want some time to have a family. I haven't even had the time to think about it.
Wow.
And this, deep why, surprised even her and her husband. It just showed how easily we can disconnect all our hard work from what we truly desire.
Yeah.
But once they nailed that down,
Yeah.
that became the lens, the filter for every single money decision they made from then on.
Yeah.
He calls it the power of why. It really does flip some hidden switch inside, bringing clarity instead of all that overwhelm.
Okay.
Just like going to the doctor.
Right. You don't want them just handing you pills without figuring out what's wrong first.
Right, you get the diagnosis.
Exactly. You look at the financial symptoms where things feel off. You identify health, why money matters to you, and then you find the solution, letting your values drive the decisions. So, for us listeners thinking about this, how do we even begin to find our own why? Do we just keep asking why, like a 5-year-old, until we hit rock bottom?
Huh. It can feel a bit like that sometimes. But yeah, his method is basically that, but maybe a little more structured.
Yeah.
Keep asking why. Why do I spend so much time or money here? Why so little there? What am I really trying to achieve with this?
Okay.
And he really pushes you to get specific. Move past vague stuff like freedom or security. What does it actually mean? Maybe it's, I want my kids to have opportunities I didn't, or I want time to volunteer for this cause I believe in.
Gotcha. Be specific.
Exactly. And often, the clues are already there. Just look at how you spend your time and your money right now. You know that saying, the calendar and the checkbook never lie.
Mm-hmm. Heard that one.
It's pretty true. But, fair warning, looking closely might show you some things you don't love, some areas where you're way off track from your values.
Okay, so be prepared for some discomfort.
Definitely. And he gives some really helpful guardrails for this whole discovery process. Like, set aside dedicated time when you actually have energy, not when you're exhausted.
Good tip.
And maybe get out of the house. Go to a cafe, somewhere neutral, helps handle the emotions that might come up. And this is huge. Let go of the past.
Okay.
He talks about clients, Caitlin and James, who lost money. You got to move past those mistakes. Adopt a no shame, no blame attitude. Even about your own past choices. Mistakes are just lessons.
You're right, blame.
And one more thing. Skip specific goals for now. Don't worry about, I want to save X amount by Y date just yet. Focus first on the reason behind the goals. Find that deeper yes, as Stephen Covey called it. That makes it way easier to say no to all the distractions later on.
This sounds great for individuals, really powerful, but what about couples? Money is like a notorious source of fights. Does this discovery thing work when there are two people involved?
Absolutely. And it's maybe even more critical for couples. Richards actually has a whole section called Why We Fight About Money.
Oh, I bet that's a popular chapter.
Probably. He tells this story about Bob and Sue, married 10 years. And one night at dinner, Sue just casually mentions this deep desire she has for more travel. And Bob is, like, completely floored, shocked.
They'd never talked about it.
Never explicitly. Can you believe it? It just highlights how money carries all this emotional baggage from how we grew up.
Right?
And nobody really teaches us how to talk about this stuff, especially the emotional side, with a partner.
True.
So his tips for couples are really practical. First, just assume money plays a huge EE role. Like, you almost can't overestimate its impact on a relationship.
Okay.
Second, acknowledge the baggage. Everyone brings their own history and beliefs about money. Be respectful of that.
Right.
Third, timing is everything. Don't try to have the big money talk after a terrible day or right when some massive bill arrives.
Good point. Bad idea.
And finally, talk early. Don't wait until you're married to discuss this stuff. Have the conversations beforehand.
Makes sense.
And he broadens the idea of wealth here, too. He talks about human capital. Financial planning isn't just about dollars and cents.
Okay. What's human capital?
It's your time, your skills, your energy. All of that is capital you're spending every day. He gives this personal example of realizing he was checking Twitter when his son wanted to play.
Oh, yeah.
And he had this moment of clarity. The cost of spending his time and energy on work or distraction sometimes outweighed the personal return he got from being present with his family. Every choice is a trade-off. You trade time, energy, skill for money, or vice versa.
That's a really interesting way to think about it, trading energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being aware of those trade-offs leads to his next big point. Focus on what you can control. He talks about the 2008 crisis, feeling like the world is ending, totally spiraling.
I remember that feeling.
Right. So he started super small, focused just on his breathing. Then, okay, what else can I control? My wife, my kids, going for a bike ride, these tiny things. And he said that tiny sense of control grew. It helped break the panic cycle and kept him focused on what really mattered.
Okay, so we've dug deep. We found our why. Now, how do we actually start closing that gap between where we are now financially and where that why tells us we want to be? That feels like the next big hurdle.
It is. And Richards is super clear on this. Before you even think about investing strategies, the most powerful thing you can do is get a handle on your spending and saving.
Okay. More important than investing.
In the beginning, absolutely. He says flat out, you could have the best investing strategy in the world, but if you don't have any money to invest, it won't help you.
Fair point.
And he talks about the traps of, modern consumer culture. Ads everywhere. Stuff like Apple's iBeacon tracking you in stores, Amazon making it one-click easy.
Yeah, it's designed to make us spend without thinking.
Totally. He puts it pretty bluntly. At some point, we stopped being American citizens and started being, first and foremost, American consumers. It's really a call to take back some responsibility for those mindless purchases.
But we're so good at justifying things, aren't we? We always have a reason, a story we tell ourselves, oh, I needed this, or this is actually an investment.
Huh. Exactly. He has a whole bit called We All Like a Good Story. We're masters at justifying emotional buys with what sound like logical facts, like buying a hybrid car. People say, oh, I'm saving money on gas, which might be true eventually, but often the math doesn't work out for years compared to the higher price. The real why is often about environmental values, which is fine,
Okay.
or buying a house. We conveniently forget about closing costs, property taxes, surprise repairs, all that stuff when we call it an investment. His goal is just replace the convenient story with the actual truth.
So how do we get to that truth? How do we see where the money is really going past our own stories?
Well, the secret, if you want to call it that, is budgeting, but not budgeting like a punishment. He calls it budgeting as a tool for awareness.
Okay, budgeting has a bad rap, though, like flossing.
Exactly. He says it has a marketing problem. We know we should do it, but it feels like deprivation.
Yeah.
But he reframes it, using an idea from Jesse Measham, the you need a budget guy.
Why not be?
Budgeting isn't just about restricting yourself. It's about awareness, making sure your money is actually going towards the things that matter most,
Yeah.
your why.
So why do we avoid it so much?
Well, it's not fun, for one.
Yeah.
And we think we know where our money goes. Richard just says, no, you don't, sorry.
Huh. Brutal honesty.
And there's often this fear, right? When am I going to find out if I actually track it? He tells a story about Dallas Hartwig, who co-wrote It Starts With Food.
Uh-huh.
Hartwig was apparently terrified to track his food spending. But when he finally did, he was horrified by the amount. But then he realized, wait, this high spending totally aligns with my values about quality food and my whole career.
So it wasn't necessarily bad spending for him?
Exactly. Same for Richard's own family. They spent a lot on recreation, but it matched their family values. Budgeting just forces you to see the reality. It shows you the gap, if there is one, between your stated values and your actual behavior.
Okay. I'm starting to see the value. So if we're ready to try this awareness budgeting, where's the starting point?
He gives really practical steps. First, tackle your fixed expenses, rent or mortgage, loans, utilities, minimum card payments, list them out. And automate those payments. Super important. Also, automate your savings goals if you can.
Okay, automate the fixed stuff. Then what?
Then the variable stuff, groceries, eating out, entertainment, all that. You got to track everything, at least for a while, maybe weekly. And the goal isn't judgment, it's just awareness. See where it's going.
How should we track app, notebook?
He actually leans towards manual entry, at least initially, using something like YNA or even just a spreadsheet, because physically typing it in forces you to notice each transaction more than just linking an account.
Makes sense. More friction, more awareness.
Exactly. And he says to watch out for those sneaky one-time events. Not like a real emergency, like a car repair, but the surprise choices, the Black Friday sale you suddenly need, the special treat you give yourself.
Guilty.
We all are. He offers a cool hack, the 72-hour test for impulse buys online. Put it in your cart, but wait 3 days before buying. He says you'll probably delete half of it. It's a buffer, a pause button, not necessarily a hard no.
I like that, the 72-hour rule.
Yeah. And for something more intense, he mentions a friend who does a spending cleanse, just doesn't spend anything non-essential for a few days or a week. Really shines a light on habits.
Oh, okay. Radical.
A little. And finally, a cool idea from BJ Fogg's Tiny Habits work. Try to simply reduce the number of transactions you make. Fewer swipes of the card often just naturally leads to spending less overall.
Interesting. Gamify it a bit.
Kinda. And all this tracking and awareness builds towards the next core idea. Save as much as you reasonably can.
Okay, reasonably. What does that mean? Is it the 15% rule you hear about?
Well, he actually challenges those rigid rules of thumb, like the 15% for retirement. He argues they can cause way too much stress or make people feel like failures if they can't hit it. Your plan needs to support your life today, too, right? Your health, your happiness, not just some far-off retirement date. He quotes a friend, Brad Peterson, whose philosophy is simply, I am saving as much as I reasonably can.
And reasonable depends on your why.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, totally unique to you after you've done that discovery work and know what truly matters. A big hurdle, though, is our own brains. Instant gratification is powerful.
Tell me about it.
Our brain often treats our future self like a total stranger it doesn't care about. He gives an example. Losing just $75 a week to miscellaneous spending, that's almost $4,000 a year. Money that could be growing for that future self.
Ouch. Yeah.
And where do you find that money to save? He says focus on those surprise choices you uncover during tracking, not necessarily trying to squeeze pennies from your daily coffee.
No.
And the message is clear. If you haven't started saving, just start now. Don't beat yourself up about the past. Don't wait for some magical home run investment to catch up.
Just start.
Just start. The basics are timeless. Save what you reasonably can, spend less than you earn, protect your money. Simple stuff. Be mindful of where money flows. Save windfalls like tax refunds. Automate. Set short-term goals to build momentum.
Right.
He's realistic, too. We always have more goals than money. That's just life. The real challenge is figuring out needs versus wants in a world that constantly tries to turn wants into needs, but he flips it. Sometimes financial limitations can actually be something of a blessing because they force you to prioritize what truly matters.
Okay, so we've figured out our why. We're tracking spending. We're saving reasonably. Now do we get to investing? Because, like we said, the stock market feels like this big, scary casino to a lot of people.
Right, it totally can. And Richard says that feeling often comes from confusing real investing with speculation.
Okay, what's the difference?
Speculation is like the carnival, he calls it. This huge entertainment industry, financial news channels yelling, gurus predicting the next crash, or boom. It makes you feel like you have to constantly be doing something, timing the market perfectly.
Yeah, the 204/7 noise.
Exactly. He tells his own painful story about buying InfoSpace stock back in the dot-com boom, put $10,000 in based purely on hype.
Oh, no. How did that end?
It plummeted.
Yeah.
Ended up worth $81.
Ouch. $81 from $10,000.
Yeah, a very expensive lesson in buying high, selling low, and the dangers of just speculating. He also critiques how people misuse that Peter Lynch idea, buy what you know.
How so?
Just because you love using, say, Apple products doesn't automatically mean you should buy Apple stock without doing any real homework.
Yeah.
He jokes, he always asks people, okay, did you read their latest annual report before buying? And he says, no one has said yes.
Huh. Fair enough. So if speculation is the noisy carnival, what does actual sensible investing look like? Is there a calmer, more scientific way?
There absolutely is. He calls it the science of investing. He uses this brilliant analogy from a doctor friend. The friend realized, if I practiced medicine the way I used to invest based on gut feelings and hot tips, I'd probably kill half my patients.
Wow, that's a wake-up call.
Right. Real investing, Richards argues, relies on evidence, not intuition. It starts with a fundamental act of faith, really a belief that over the long haul, capitalism generally works. Companies grow, economies expand, even though there will definitely be bumps and downturns along the way.
Okay, so believe in long-term growth. Then what?
Then, 3 core principles guide the science. First, diversify. That old classic, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
This means avoiding what he calls unsystematic risk. That's the risk of betting on one company, one industry, or trying to time the market. You can't consistently predict that. Instead, you take on systematic risk, the inherent risk of being in the market itself by investing broadly across the whole system. Think low-cost, diversified mutual funds, especially index funds.
So own a little bit of everything.
Pretty much. He shows how mixing, say, U.S. stocks and international stocks reduces volatility. Adding bonds reduces it even more. Diversification smooths the ride.
Okay, diversify. What's number 2?
Keep your costs low. This is huge. Research consistently shows the single most reliable predictor of how well a mutual fund will perform in the future is how low its fees are.
Really? Not the star manager?
No, fees. The less you pay in fees, the more the return you actually keep. Simple as that.
All right, low costs. And number 3.
Understand the correlation between risk and reward. Not all risk is bad. You want to take compensated risk that historically you've been paid to take through higher returns. So over long periods, stocks tend to outperform safer bonds or cash, right? That's compensation for taking more risk. And even within stocks, small companies are generally riskier than large ones, but historically offer higher potential payoffs. Same with value stocks, companies that might seem a bit beaten down, but are fundamentally sound, versus high-flying growth stocks. Value can be riskier, but potentially more rewarding. Understand what kind of risk you're taking and why.
This all sounds very sensible, calm even, but I can hear listeners thinking, okay, great principles, just tell me what funds to buy.
Huh. Yeah, that's the constant struggle. And Richards actually says this was the hardest part of the book for him to write, the section called Why I Can't Just Tell You What to Do.
Because there's no single right answer.
Exactly. The perfect advice is always tailor-made. He even asked his firm's chief investment officer, Jared Kaiser, for advice for his best friend, and Kaiser said, I can't, not without knowing his goals, his situation.
Right. It depends.
It always depends. However, he doesn't leave you hanging. He offers a good enough default, a solid starting point. It's basically the institutional standard, a 60-40 split.
Yeah.
60% stocks, 40% bonds.
Okay, 60-40.
He quotes the legendary John Bogle, founder of Vanguard. There might be advice that's better than this, but the amount of advice that's worse is infinite.
Love that. So what does that 60-40 look like in practice?
Generally, any money you know you'll need within the next, say, 10 years. Keep that safe. CDs, high-yield savings, stable stuff.
Got it. Short-term money is safe.
Right. For money with a time horizon longer than 10 years, that's where the 60-40 comes in. Maybe 60% in globally diversified stocks. He suggests maybe leaning a bit towards the U.S., like 42% U.S. index funds, 18% international index funds. Often Vanguard funds are good, low-cost examples.
Okay. And the other 40%?
That goes into safe, fixed income investments, like a total bond market index fund. Again, low-cost, diversified bonds.
So that's the default. But it can be tweaked.
Totally. He gives examples. A young client, Jordan, high income, comfortable with risk. Maybe goes 90% stocks for aggressive growth. Another couple, Greg and Brittany, prioritizing security. They might use CDs for short-term goals and a more balanced 60-40 or even 50-50 in their long-term accounts. You adjust it based on your why, your timeline, your comfort with risk.
Okay.
And then there's this other concept he calls the seventh wonder of the investing world.
Ooh, intriguing. What is it?
Rebalancing.
Ah, rebalancing. Heard of it.
It's simple but powerful. Periodically, maybe once a year, maybe on your birthday. Keep it simple. You just adjust your portfolio back to your target, back to that 60-40 or whatever your target is.
Why is it so powerful?
Because it forces you automatically to buy low and sell high without emotion. Think about it. If stocks have soared and now they're 70% of your portfolio instead of 60%, rebalancing makes you sell some of those high-flying stocks and buy more bonds to get back to 60-40. You're selling high. If stocks have tanked and now they're only 50%, rebalancing forces you to sell some bonds and buy more stocks while they're cheap. You're buying low. It's disciplined, unemotional profit-taking and bargain hunting built right in.
That actually is pretty brilliant. Takes the guesswork out.
Totally.
But what about when things get really crazy, like a market crash? All the logic goes out the window, panic sets in. How do we stop ourselves from making those huge mistakes then?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And his answer is, you prepare for the storm before it hits. It's like learning how to use your parachute before you jump out of the plane, not while you're falling.
Makes sense.
Market downturns are going to happen. They are inevitable. They should never surprise us. He says the problem isn't the market doing market things. This is a problem with us, our reactions.
Okay, so how do we parachute-proof our reactions?
By creating what he calls an investment policy statement, or IPS. Think of it as a contract you make with your future panicked self.
The contract with myself.
Yeah. Write it down. Keep it simple. What's your investing philosophy based on your why? What are your goals? What's your target allocation? Like 60-40. And crucially, how will you behave during turbulence? You might write, I will rebalance once a year on my birthday, regardless of market conditions, or I will not check my portfolio daily during downturns.
So it's like pre-deciding how you'll act when you're emotional.
Exactly. You could even record it as an audio message to yourself. When the carnival outside is screaming, sell, 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 you listen to your calm, rational past self reminding you of your plan, your deeper yes.
That's a really practical tool.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, and Richards hammers this home, financial success is way more about behavior than it is about skill.
Behavior over skill?
Yeah. He brings in Daniel Kahneman's work on cognitive biases. Basically, our brains are wired with these mental shortcuts that often lead us to make bad decisions, especially under pressure, like buying high out of greed, selling low out of fear. It's almost inevitable unless we set up guardrails.
Okay, guardrails. Like what?
He uses a cute analogy of his daughter putting her shoes right by the front door so she physically can't leave for school without seeing them.
Ah, making the right behavior easy and the wrong one hard.
Exactly. We need financial shoes by the door.
So what are those financial guardrails? What are the key strategies to make sure we actually behave well for the long run?
He boils it down to four main ones. First, the one we just talked about. Have a plan and stick to it. That IPS is your rock.
Okay, have the plan.
Second, automate good behavior. Set up automatic transfers to savings, automate your 401k contributions, automate bill pay, maybe even automate rebalancing if your platform allows it. Take the decision-making, the temptation to tinker out of your hands as much as possible.
Make it effortless.
Right. Third, remember. Learn from the past. Remember the dot-com crash, the 2008 crisis, maybe personal mistakes you made. Understand what drove those decisions: fear, greed. Recognizing the pattern helps you avoid repeating it.
Learn from history. Got it.
And fourth, and this might be the hardest for some people, leave it alone.
Just do nothing.
Pretty much. He says investing is like planting a tree. You don't dig it up every week to see if the roots are growing. It's super boring in the short term, but can be very exciting over the long term if you just let it grow. He quotes Warren Buffett.
Always good to quote Buffett.
Buffett says, "The hallmark of our investment process is benign neglect bordering on sloth." You actually get rewarded for being lazy once your plan is set up.
Benign neglect.
Yeah.
I like that. So what's fascinating here, when you put it all together, it feels like it's not just about ending up with the most money possible in retirement.
No, not at all.
It's like this whole process, simplifying things, focusing on your why, setting up these guardrails, it actually frees up so much mental energy, time and energy you might have spent worrying or constantly checking stocks or second-guessing decisions.
That's a huge part of it. Control over your money gives you back control over your time and attention.
Yeah. So if we connect this all back to the big picture, by setting up these simple systems and really grounding everything in your personal values, you gain this control, which then frees you up to spend more time and energy on the things that actually make up a meaningful life, according to your definition.
Yeah, which really leads to a pretty important final thought, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you could genuinely gain back, say, hundreds of hours a year, hours previously lost to financial stress or complexity, just by simplifying and aligning your finances with what truly matters to you, what would you actually do with all that newfound time and energy?
Exactly. It makes you wonder, what does this all mean for your life? Maybe the most valuable financial asset isn't the money itself, but the freedom you gain to choose how you spend your most valuable, non-renewable resource, your time.